I've got a croaky throat. This serger that you can see behind me here, I bought a year after I started sewing, when I started getting into all my sewing machines, and I haven't looked back. Today I'm sharing 10 reasons why I love my serger and reasons you might want to consider getting one too. So let's get into it. Welcome back. I've got no power in my voice. I've got no power in my voice. I've got a really nasty cough at the moment. It's okay when I'm stood up, but when I lay down, it's really bad. So I've got no power in my voice. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Claire. On this channel, we talk about plus size and beginner garment sewing. This video is the next video in my mini series, Thanks I Made That, where I give you a roadmap from the very beginning of choosing your sewing machine through to wearing your gorgeous handmade garment. All the links to the playlist will be down below. So a few days ago I held a poll on my community post, which I will put here, which asked whether you have a serger or not. It brought back some quite surprising results really, in that 60% of you had one, but 40% of you didn't. So that sparked an idea in my head to produce this video where I can talk about everything I love about it. And, you know, maybe it will convince you that you want one, but only if it's right for you. Sergers are not right for everyone, but I hope that this serves as some kind of entertainment nevertheless. So let's get straight into the details. The first one is, it is so easy to use. Now this is a really big misunderstanding from people who do not have a serger, or people who have bought a serger and are too scared to get it out of the box. If that's you, do leave me a comment down below and let me know. I hear time and time again, whether it's on my own community feed or in Facebook groups or on Instagram, lots of places, people say they've bought a serger, sometimes a really high-end serger, and it's just sat in the box because they're too scared to use it. Please, if this is you, just get your serger out and have a play around with it. It is not as scary as you think. I would go as far to say as a serger is easier to use than a sewing machine. So if you're using a sewing machine, you can definitely use a serger. There are two things when you open your serger that might hold you back, and that is threading your machine if you've got a lower end machine and setting the tension. But we'll get onto those things later. Talking about how easy it is to use, it's so easy. Once you've got those other things in place, you just literally put some fabric underneath and go. It trims the edges, it's faster than a sewing machine. All sorts of things can go wrong with a sewing machine. Basically, one or two things is going to go wrong with this serger, maybe three things. The blade might get dull, which won't be the situation when you first start using it. Your threads can come unthreaded, but you'll know how to thread it, so you just re-thread it. And your tension might be off and you just twiddle with your knobs and you're done. What more can I say? Yeah, I love a serger because it is so simple. The second reason I love my serger is it does 3 jobs in one. It sews, it trims, and it secures the edges. So if you've got a 4-thread serger, like I have here, you'll know that if you've got 4 threads, you've got a 4 thread, you know, clues in the name. So if you have 4 threads, you have secure stitching and you can sew on it. If you only have 3 threads, or you only choose to use 3 threads, I would not rely on it for sewing. But with 4 threads, you can do. As I say, it also trims. So you've got the blade, which is just next to your needle here. As you sew through, it will trim the edge off, which is absolutely amazing. It saves a whole other job that you get on the sewing machine where you have to just finish your edges in some way, and it's all done in one. When it trims, it's tidying up your edges. You don't have to finish your edges, and it makes them super, super secure. We all know when we put things through the washing machine time and time again, the seams can unravel. Oh, I've got a friend, and that is a concern, but on the serger, it is not a concern at all. The third point is that it's super quick to use. If you're just using the same colour threads, and honestly, The most time-consuming thing about using a serger is threading it time and time again, because I do like to use different colour threads, matching threads I should say, that go with the garment that I am sewing, and I do have lots of threads for that reason. But if you're just going to stick to a white or a black or a grey is a good option, because that's a mid-tone between black and white, and so you can sew pretty much everything with that. And if you're going to stick to that, then it's just getting your machine out, if you have to put it away, plug it in and start sewing. Very, very rarely do I change the settings on this machine. So it is just so quick and easy to use. If I get my sewing machine out, I have to get my sewing machine out, I have to get my foot out, I have to make sure I've got the right needle, I have to thread, I have to do a bobbin, I have to do a test piece, as I explained in my last video. And there is just so much, not only in the setup of a sewing machine, but in that can go wrong as well. So I love this because it is so quick to use. The fourth reason that I absolutely love this serger is, contrary to popular belief, you can sew knits and wovens on this machine. People buy the machine for knit fabrics because when you're sewing it, it gives a stretchy stitch, and so it's the obvious thing to use for knit fabric. But I use woven fabrics in it all the time as well. I heard someone say on Facebook that you should not sew wovens on a serger, and it's just not true. I've been sewing wovens on a serger for years and years, in fact. In fact, this top has got a serge seam on the edge, and this is a georgette. So this top is the Melody Dolman by Love Notions. I do have a video down below, so check that out afterwards. Whatever the fabric, I will use this if I can. Occasionally it's not appropriate, so like if I was doing a French seam, then I couldn't use it. There's certain situations where you don't want the bulk, such as if you were sewing the collar. I didn't want bulk on the outside of the collar there, so I wouldn't use my serger in that instance. But in most cases, whether it is knit or woven, you can use it. And people say that because it's got a stretchy stitch, it's not appropriate for woven. If you sew it on a woven, it's not going to stretch because there's no stretch in the actual fabric, so the stitches can't stretch. Do you know what? If one of my machines broke and it was either the sewing machine or the serger, I would hope it was the sewing machine, because I don't know if I could live without this little baby of mine. So the fifth reason that I really love my serger is that it is easier to sew knits on. When you're brand new to sewing knits can be really intimidating because so much can go wrong with it. The fabric can stretch out, the seams can be wavy. In the case of viscose knit, it can be really difficult to handle. The edges can curl up, you can get puckers, all sorts of things on the sewing machine can go wrong with a knit. If you're new to sewing and you really want to try knits, try it on a serger and you will not look back. You honestly will not. You just feed it through. It goes through at an even rate because, you know, as we spoke about, it is designed for knits. So it will take it through at an even rate. And if it doesn't, you've got the differential feeds on the side where you can adjust that if you need to. So it feeds it through at the same rate. I absolutely love sewing knits on here. I can whip up a t-shirt, V-necks, no, round necks. I can whip up a round neck t-shirt on this thing in 20 minutes. Once it's cut out, 20 minutes and I'm done, a whole top. How amazing is that? I would say on the sewing machine it would probably take me an hour. The sixth reason that I absolutely love my serger is that when I pick up a new fabric can really fray. Some of it can anyway. And you have to put it in the washing machine to pre-wash, and that can make it really unravel. And in some cases, you can lose a lot of your fabric that you've purchased. So what I like to do before I put the fabric in the washing machine is I just run the edges through this serger, and that secures the edges and then nothing frays. And then when it comes to cutting my fabric out, my whole fabric piece is intact and I've got as much fabric as I intended to have. I'm losing my voice now. So the 7th reason that I absolutely love my serger, not just mine, any old serger will do. If I was sat in a bar and a serger come and talk to me, he'd have me at hello, I have to say. The 7th reason is that it gives professional results. Look in any ready-to-made garment and you will likely see serge seams in there, especially in knits, but in some wovens as well. And it just gives it such a professional finish because, like we said before, it trims the edges and it secures the edges and it gives a really consistent look to the seams as well from the inside. Some people who are real like high-end sewers, tailors, etc. will say no, sergers do not give a professional finish, but I disagree. I think they do. I'm not looking to wear a Princess Diana dress to the shops, am I? All I want is a garment that I can wear that hangs well, looks gorgeous, and I'm really proud of. And when I've sewed my seams with a serger, I'm really proud of those seams. Especially when you compare that to maybe if you were zigzagging or overcasting the stitches on the sewing machine or even pinking the sides. It just does not look as professional as a serger. The only other seam finish that I think looks professional, aside from my beloved serger here, is French seams. But they take twice the time to do because you're sewing 2 lengths of seam. So the 8th reason I absolutely love my serger is it doesn't just sew straight seam. You can do a rolled hems, you can do a lettuce hem, and you can do a flat lock seam as well. I'm very, very guilty here of not using these features as much as I should, but I certainly have. If you check out my video on, I think it's called the Sloan Top by Love Notions, where I made it in a rib knit. It's got a wavy seam and that is a lettuce hem that I did. And basically when I made that, I was making it in rib knit, which was very, very light and very stretchy. And I was thinking, how am I going to finish this? Because it is so light and so stretchy. It has something like 80% stretch, I think. It was ridiculous. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to hem this. So I was either going to leave it or do a lettuce hem. And the lettuce hem come out amazingly well. The thing I love about this point is that a serger is a lot more versatile than people think it is. You can also buy lots of feet, which I never have. I've just stuck with the foot it come with. But you can buy all sorts of foot. You can buy feet, you can buy bias binding feet, you can buy ruffle feet, all sorts of feet you can buy. Just look it up on Google and you will see the amount of feet that are available for it. If you've got your serger, I would encourage you to try those other hems. Have a look in your manual, it will tell you everything you need to know about what your machine can do. So the 9th reason I absolutely love my serger is that once you've got the settings as you need them, then you rarely have to touch them again. So I said at the top of the video that 2 things that you need to do when you first get your serger: to thread the machine and to get your settings straight. I'll talk about this more in my next video, but I would spend some time getting to know how to do those 2 things. So once you have got your settings as you like them, take a photo, because if you do change them, which is going to be rare, then you'll know what they are, but you probably won't change them. I don't change my needles either. I think I might have changed the needles once in 4 years of having this sewing machine, and they work absolutely fine. Please don't be horrified by that. I'm not damaging my garments, I promise you. If I change my needle with every project, then I would be spending an absolute fortune. Let me know down below, do you change your serger needles? Because I don't, and I have no guilt. Technically, you should be changing them based on the weight of your fabric, how many layers you have, etc. But for the most part, the seam looks absolutely fine. with all layers. Something like this, a Georgette, you would probably want to change them a little bit. And the 10th reason I love my serger, and this is a simple but really effective one, and that is I've got access to the mechanics if I need them. So I open that up, like I really don't want to show you that yet, considering my last video was partly a clean my sewing machine with me. We haven't cleaned this one out yet, but that is coming. All the mechanics you need, you open up and you have there. And it can be a little bit cumbersome to get in, but they're all there on the outside. I don't know about the higher end machines, that may be different, but on my basic model I paid £200 or $250 for this machine, and yeah, all the mechanics are there, not like my sewing machine. But on my sewing machine, when something goes wrong, I need to take it in to be serviced. When something goes wrong with this, I think in most cases I can probably fix it myself. So they are my top 10 reasons why I adore my serger. Let me know down below. Do you agree? Why do you love your serger? I'd really like to know. And has this convinced you that you want your own serger? Let's have that conversation down below and give your top tips as well. If you like this video and you got value out of it, consider purchasing a Ko-fi for me. Otherwise, subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one. Happy sewing. Bye for now.